You didn't stumble upon this message, you were led to it. Every moment of confusion, every delay, every time you questioned why things weren't moving, it was all part of the divine orchestration. This is God's voice speaking directly to your soul, not to your mind. Because what He's about to reveal to you is not about what you understand, it's about what your spirit already knows. Your faith has moved things in the spirit long before you ever saw results. This isn't something new. This has been happening behind the scenes while you were still on your knees, whispering prayers you didn't think heaven heard. But heaven did hear. And the movement started the moment your faith spoke louder than your fear. You've walked by faith, not by sight. And don't think that went unnoticed. God says, "That pleases me." You chose obedience when you had every reason to give up. You chose to believe when everything around you was falling apart. Faith isn't just what you believe when things are good. Faith is what you still do when there's no proof, no evidence, no sign that the promise is on its way. You've lived this. You've obeyed when the road was dark, when your friends said you were crazy, when your own heart doubted if you heard God right. And that, dear one, is why doors are about to open. Not because of who you know, not because of what you've done, but because you dared to believe when it cost you everything. Remember Abraham? He walked with nothing but a promise in his pocket. He didn't know where he was going. He just trusted who was leading. That's been you. Feeling lost, uncertain, not sure if the next step would be solid or if you were walking off a cliff. But you kept walking. And every step you took, heaven recorded it. Every time you moved forward, even though it hurt, even though it didn't make sense, God was smiling. Because He saw in you what the world didn't. Obedience that cost something. Obedience that built altars, not platforms. Obedience that didn't chase applause, but chased His heart. And like Noah, yes, like the man who built an ark when there wasn't a single cloud in the sky, you trusted God when it made no sense. People laughed at Noah. They called him delusional. They mocked his assignment. But when the rain came, they weren't laughing anymore. Don't let their mockery make you doubt your mission. The doors that are opening for you now were sealed until faith turned the key. You may not have realized it, but every act of obedience, every time you didn't retaliate, every time you sowed a seed in silence, those were keys. Keys that unlocked gates in heaven. You didn't need to force the door open. You just needed to believe that the right one was standing on the other side. Delays are not denials. That lie stops many chosen ones in their tracks. But hear this clearly. Your delay was a divine setup. What looked like a pause was actually God staging the next act. What felt like rejection was protection. God hid certain things from you because they were not ready yet, or you weren't ready yet. And He loves you too much to deliver a blessing out of season. He doesn't want you to just survive the blessing. He wants you to steward it, multiply it, carry it without crumbling under its weight. So while you waited, He worked. He was never idle. Heaven is never silent, even when earth is quiet. Your prayers didn't bounce off the ceiling. They tore through the veil. You may have cried out in a dark room, but angels were dispatched the moment your lips whispered, "Father." You didn't feel it, but faith doesn't require feeling. It requires trust, the kind of trust you've shown again and again. Trust that made no sense to your logic. Trust that made you look foolish to people who love the world more than they love the Word. But you, chosen one, you've built your house on something deeper. That's why the storm didn't shake you. That's why betrayal didn't destroy you. You had roots. You didn't need applause. You needed alignment. And heaven has been aligning everything for this moment. God says, "You haven't seen what's coming because I'm preparing what eyes have not seen." It's not that He's withholding. He's just crafting something bigger than you imagined. You thought you were asking for something big, but God heard something eternal. You asked for a door, He's preparing a realm. You asked for an opportunity. He's creating a legacy. And you haven't missed it. No, you haven't missed the timing. You haven't missed your moment. You're right where you're supposed to be, on the edge of something holy, something irreversible, something so covered by heaven that not even hell can stop it. You kept believing while others gave up. You stayed when it would have been easier to leave. You praised when it would have been natural to complain. You chose light when darkness surrounded you. And God says, "Now I'm rewarding your endurance." Heaven is a record keeper. Every time you chose to speak life instead of cursing your circumstances, every time you sowed kindness when you could have chosen revenge, it was recorded. And now, the harvest is being released. Not because of who you pretended to be, but because of who you remained in secret. You didn't just pass a test of strength, you passed the test of trust. Faith is the master key. You've been holding it all along. You were never locked out. The door wasn't denied, it was reserved. God had your name on it the whole time. But some things don't open until the heart is ready. Some blessings wait until your spirit can carry them. God isn't just interested in giving you things, He wants to give you something that doesn't break you in the process. That's why the wait. That's why the wilderness. But hear this. You're coming out now. You're stepping into places you didn't even knock on, because your faith unlocked them before your feet arrived. God says, "I've been testing your trust, not your strength." Many assume that strength is what gets them through hard times. But it's not just strength, it's trust. Trust that says, even if I don't understand, I will still follow. Trust that keeps showing up when there's no reward in sight. And you, my child, have passed that test. Like Job, you didn't curse me when everything was taken. You didn't fold under pressure. You didn't trade your purpose for comfort. Even when you questioned, even when your heart was tired, you still held on. That kind of trust is rare, and heaven honors it. While you were waiting, I was working. What felt like silence was divine strategy. I wasn't ignoring your prayers. I was orchestrating their answers in ways you couldn't comprehend. Behind closed doors, angels were being dispatched. Connections were being made. Plans were being shifted. The pieces you couldn't see were coming into alignment. I wasn't absent. I was being deliberate. Because I'm not just answering your prayers, I'm fulfilling my promises. And what I promise, I always complete. Every tear you cried in the midnight hour, I saw it. Every whispered prayer you didn't think mattered, it did. Not a single moment of pain, confusion, or endurance has been wasted. It's all been recorded. It's all been redeemed. You've stored up more in the spirit than you realize. You've been planting seeds through your faithfulness, and now the season of harvest is beginning. Doors are opening, not because you demanded them to, but because you believed before they even existed. This is your confirmation. The things you've been sensing in your spirit, the shifts you couldn't explain, the weight lifting from your heart. It's all pointing to breakthrough. You don't need to strive for it. Just keep walking. Don't look for the doors. Let them find you, for your faith has already unlocked them. What is about to come into your life was not unlocked by your hands, but by your heart. That's why it will last. That's why it can't be stolen. Because no one can take what God opened through obedience. So lift your head. You've not been forgotten. You've not been overlooked. You've been tested and trusted. And now comes the release. Keep walking, chosen one. The doors are already open. Even if you can't see them yet, they've already begun to swing wide. So don't hesitate. Don't doubt the shift you feel inside you. Heaven has already gone ahead of you. The doors that once felt sealed are now responding to your footsteps, not because you forced them, but because your faith went before you. Walk boldly. Walk humbly. Walk knowing that what you're stepping into was always yours. It just waited for your spirit to be ready. This is not the end of your story. This is the unveiling of everything your soul has quietly believed for. And now, what was hidden is being revealed. What was locked is opening. Your faith did that.